Hello, here we are back at Computex 2009, and I'm talking to Rick Bergman, who's the Senior Vice President and General Manager of the Products Group at AMD. Hi, Rick.
Good morning.
So, Rick, I understand that this particular job role that I've just described is one that's only been in place for you for a short while. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, several weeks ago, we did a reorganization of the company, and really the primary goal was to bring focus onto delivering our platform solutions.
Okay.
So previously, we'd kind of operated as two separate businesses, one in the graphics, one in the CPU. But as we're integrating those two, we integrated actually the product groups together.
So which one were you in charge of before?
I was in charge of the graphics group.
Okay. Okay, so so now you've been given CPUs as well?
That's CPUs and chipsets as well, yes.
Oh, right, yeah, of course, chipsets. That's a bit extra work for you.
There's new challenges and lots of opportunities, yes.
And in terms of sort of preparation to move across, obviously there's a lot of similarities between these different types of sort of processor products, but what preparation did you have to do in order to be able to take on this sort of extra load?
Well, you don't get a whole lot of warning usually when these type of roles come your way.
Monday morning is your new office.
Yes. So I've been a general manager in charge of graphics for 12, 13 years.
Right.
So I've run big engineering teams in the past, but really it was the reason what we want to do is to bring some of the characteristics of what we do in the GPU world into the combined CPU-GPU world, which is GPUs, we tend to move very quickly.
Yes.
And that's my number one goal, is to get us to move fast.
Yeah, we tend to get sort of every few months a new lot of cards or whatever.
GPUs, it's a different cycle.
I see. Okay. And you are I presume one of the reasons you were in charge of the graphics group is because you were on the ATI side of things when the acquisition of ATI happened. Is that correct? Yeah,
I was one of the officers for ATI.
Yeah. So one thing I'd like to sort of talk about before we move on. I tend to cover a sort of corporate, sort of financial, strategic side of things, and I cover quarterly announcements. And I know that AMD's written down a lot of the ATI acquisition in various quarters since it happened. So it's easy for me to conclude that AMD sort of overpaid a lot for ATI, and that it's been a sort of, in that respect, a sort of damaging acquisition. Can you just comment on that perception I have?
Well, from the ATI side, I was probably by far the biggest advocate of the acquisition.
Okay.
So 3 years ago when we first looked at this, it was clear where the market was going, which was platform strategies and integrated solutions.
I see.
And so if you look over a short period, I think that's an error. So if you just look at, well, does it pay off over the last couple of years? Certainly there's been some financial pain.
Yeah.
But if you look where the market's going in the strategy, boy, it sure feels like the right move was made, as our couple of competitors are trying to match the capabilities that AMD now has under one umbrella.
Yeah, so I mean, I know from talking to various companies that you guys prefer to allude to competitors rather than name them specifically, but I'll do it for you. Obviously, in Intel, we have talk of sort of Larrabee and that sort of thing. NVIDIA seems sort of primarily to talk about the sort of GPU type of thing. But yes, it's quite clear that this sort of the overall picture of how the PC is going to perform is important for those guys. And so let's carry on the sort of aftermath of the ATI acquisition. There was lots of talk of this word that we hear a lot in association with AMD, fusion, at the time, and people were imagining basically the CPU and the GPU on one chip.
Correct.
And that still hasn't happened a few years down the line. When was the acquisition? 2006, was it?
It was the tail end of 2006.
Yeah,
yes.
so that still hasn't happened. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that sort of vision's progressing?
So the vision is still there. Unfortunately, when you actually jump into these big major engineering efforts, you start to find some obstacles, and you learn as you go along. And one of the things we learned on our kind of call it our first attempt to merge the two together is that at the 45 nanometer node, some of the economic reasons and performance reasons just weren't there. That makes sense. It actually made sense to continue with two separate discrete chips in that round. So we stepped back and redid our roadmap, and now is when we move into 32 nanometer, hey, it looks like the fusion, blending them together makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Can you just quickly remind us on the roadmap what we're expecting in that respect?
Well, we're big engineering teams pounding away on integrating these two today. And the expectation is 2 years from now, the majority of our product line will be these integrated solutions.
And you think that's all right? You're not under sort of massive time pressure from your competitors to do it sooner than that?
Well, in this market, there's always pressure to do it sooner. So it's how fast we can move and when it really makes sense for some of the same reasons I talked about, when the process technology is available, when some of the building blocks are available. And so 2 years from now feels like the right time frame.
Okay, that's great. And so back to your job role. You're basically the guy who's overall in charge of products that are coming out of AMD. Can you give us some idea of sort of your vision, what sort of influence you're going to have on the end products that we're going to see?
Well, certainly. One thing that we think is incorrect in the PC market today is the relative balance of CPU and graphics in the market. So we have a big push to get the market to realize, I think, how people actually buy computers and where is the interesting computation taking place.
Right.
And if you look at it, it's graphics and media and so on, which historically is being done with the GPU.
Yep.
It's not that it has to all be done with the GPU. The great luxury we have is we have both pieces.
Yep.
And so we're trying to find the right combination of those two elements for different market segments in the marketplace. So I think that's the number one thing, is to find the right mix of those two elements. Okay. And the other thing I mentioned earlier, which was how can we move faster? So build an organization around moving faster, bringing out products quicker, getting to market, and filling out that product line.
So you seem to effectively be saying that we'll see a lot of a sort of a more rapid cadence of product launches generally.
You can count on that, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And how's the business within AMD on the whole divided between the CPU and GPU side in terms of revenue?
It's roughly a 3/4, 1/4 split.
In favour of CPUs?
In favour of CPUs.
Okay. So that's interesting. And here you are talking about the sort of GPU side of it. So I guess from your point of view, you'd like to see that sort of get closer to parity in terms of the areas in which AMD does business.
Well, one of the reasons we blended the two organizations together is it didn't make sense to have separate P&Ls anymore.
Right.
Because when you get to the fusion processors, we're both working on those, and which group gets credit for it and so on. So it's not so much one group's going to be bigger than the other or trying to get parity, because we're going to, for the most part, the majority of our product line will be those combined things.
Yep.
And so the combined fusion processors, will easily make up 70% of our revenue in the future.
Okay, I understand. In terms of sort of innovation, I know that not too long ago, you lost a very important guy when it comes to innovation on the graphics side called Raja Kaduri. What kind of, can you tell me what the implications of losing sort of talent like that are, and what kind of reassurances can you offer us that you're going to be able to keep sort of innovating in his absence?
So Raja had worked for me for, 10 years, 12 years, actually through several different companies.
Okay.
So I know Raja quite well, and he'll tell you, and I'm not going to go into his personal details, that he had some specific personal reasons that made sense to move over to his new employer. But he, like myself, there's 2,000 people that work in our graphics products, and we all have a role. And they're different roles, but they're all equally important. When you're doing billion-plus transistor designs, even the new college hire that you put in, if he screws up his little piece of that, the chip doesn't work. So clearly Raj is a special guy, but we have a new CTO who also has a great experience, and he'll step up and take that role, and I'm confident that we'll move forward.
Okay, and talking about sort of specifics, I understand a major announcement or a major demonstration yesterday at the show was the first public showing of a DX11 system working. Could you just tell me a little bit more about that presentation and what the significance of it is?
Well, I think there's a few big announcements going on here at Computex. One is Windows 7's release date in October that was announced by Microsoft, and along with that is this new graphics API DX11. So we're excited because it brings new capabilities kind of from a graphics perspective, as well as new things you can use the GPU for. And we added the excitement by actually showing in the world's first demonstration right here in Taipei. So I think we surprised a lot of people by how far along we actually are with our GPUs. And so this is a sort of precursor to a GPU which you hope to launch around the time of Windows 7 launching? Well, we're not given a specific time. We've said by the end of 2009. Okay, by the end of this year. But we do believe DX11 is one of the big inflection points over the past 10 years in graphics, and hey, we're committed to be there first. And can we expect the product to be a kind of sort of performance leap like we saw with something like the R300? The R300 is our glorious chip in our history that really set ATI. ATI's had leadership over the past 20 years in many different areas, but we all look fondly back on the R300. And we think we got another killer product coming.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. There's a couple of other things about the future I'd like to ask. Firstly, Hexus published what we call a bean, a sort of rumour about associating some kind of corporate activity, possibly acquisition, with AMD and NVIDIA. I'm just wondering if you can comment on that at all.
Well, I obviously can't go into any specifics about whether there would be any talks or not.
Okay.
But I mean, we feel very comfortable with the technologies that we have and the direction that we're going. I mean, it's really what we have to do now is just execute, right? We got great CPUs, we got great GPUs. I think we have the right strategy in place of us. We got all the key customers in the world using our product now, and we just got to go out and do it.
Okay, fair enough. And we've been Dirk's been sort of promising the first quarter of profitability for a while. Obviously, the global recession kind of got in the way of those predictions. How are things looking on the sort of path to profitability for AMD?
Well, now you're asking me one of those tougher questions when we're in a quiet period.
Oh, we are we? Okay.
So I can only echo what we've said in our financial records. The goal is to move into profitability in the second half of 2009.
Okay, I understand. Okay, and before we finish, as the sort of senior spokesperson for products from AMD, are there any other things you'd like to add that you'd like the sort of Hexus viewers to know about AMD from the product side?
Well, AMD is out there committed to have the best CPUs and GPUs, and we're not letting up. And I think we've certainly started to show that we've got our execution back on track, whether it's the server chips we announced earlier this week, the teaser we showed on GPUs this week. We're innovating and leading in CPUs and GPUs, and when those come together, it's going to be pretty exciting.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Scott.
So I was talking to Rick Bergman, who's the Senior Vice President and General Manager of the Products Group at AMD, Computex 2009.